General Hospital spoilers for Thursday, July 31st, state that Carly Spencer will issue a harsh warning as Emma Scorpio Drake plots a criminal error. Willow Tate will also make a heartbreaking promise. So here's what GH fans should expect. Jason Morgan will pay Elizabeth Baldwin a visit at her home, and he has a particular request. Jason will continue his mission to prove Britt Westbourne's existence, so we'll see if Liz's access to GH data plays a role in his strategy. Emma will pursue a dangerous scheme. After telling Giovanni Gio Palmieri about obtaining Vaughn's facility master key, Emma suggests putting it to good use. Emma will want to make the most of her opportunity to explore what is inside Professor Henry Hank Dalton's lab. Gio will help Emma figure out how to pull this off, so it appears like they will be in this together. Anna Devane will be concerned about Emma getting in over her head, and she will be worried that her granddaughter may make another criminal mistake. Anna will express her anxieties to Dante Falconeri and act as a sounding board for him. Dante will undoubtedly discuss the problem with Rocco Falconeri, as well as how his kid has come to rely on Liesl Obrecht for information. Next, Carly will raise the alarm during a heated conversation with Jocelyn Jacks. Following Carly's distressing conversation with Anna, she will express her concerns about Vaughn's motivations. Carly may try to persuade Jocelyn that Vaughn isn't a suitable lover, but Joss will undoubtedly defend her relationship. Jack Brennan is banking on Jocelyn and Vaughn to persuade everyone in Port Charles of their blossoming love story, which includes Carly. Willow will make an emotional promise to Michael Corinthos. Willow has been attempting to control her emotions, but she will still cry when she urges Michael to let her see the children. Willow believes they can work together to find a solution, but Michael remains skeptical. Willow may pledge to be the mother Wiley and Amelia Corinthos deserve, which includes keeping Drew Kane out of their lives. Michael, on the other hand, may question Willow's trustworthiness and wonder why he should believe she will not allow Drew to influence her into reconciling. Will Michael give in or continue to keep Willow from the children? When Curtis Ashford meets Drew, he will believe he has the upper hand. Curtis will be hoping Drew will hand over all of his blackmail data on Portia Robinson, but he may be in for a harsh awakening. Drew only recently realized Curtis was the one who spilled the word about his sizzling Nina Reeves sessions, thanks to Liz's loose lips. According to General Hospital spoilers, Curtis will have to pay the price, so keep an eye out for updates on Drew's vengeance and Portia's impending collapse. General Hospital teasers indicate that a preview clip has been posted for Thursday, July 31st, 2025. It shows Anna Devane expressing her concern to Dante Falconeri. Meanwhile, Emma Scorpio Drake informs Gio Palmieri that she possesses a master key. In addition, Curtis Ashford presents Drew Kane an ultimatum. Continue reading to learn more about what will happen in today's episode of ABC soap drama. Anna Devane's fear. Let us begin with Anna and Dante. The two had a talk about the commissioner's granddaughter, Emma. Anna agrees that Emma is about to get herself into a terrible predicament from which she will be unable to escape. Meanwhile, Emma and Gio are in the Metro court pool. The young woman informs Gio that she possesses a master key to the facility. Gio smiles, implying that they are going to break in. Read more. Find out what occurred in the final episode of GH Curtis Ashford's ultimatum. Curtis has pleaded with Portia Robinson not to give up her medical license and independence. The doctor sees no way around it. However, Curtis has one more wild card to play. In today's episode preview, Curtis inquires whether Drew will pass up the Portia file. The congressman smirks, so we'll see what happens next. Willow Tate's plea. General Hospital spoilers for Thursday, July 31st suggest that the teaser footage includes Willow Tate making another desperate and passionate plea to Michael Corinthos. The nurse sobs and attempts to persuade Michael that they should find out what to do with their children together. Michael told Carly that he would strictly adhere to the judge's ruling. However, Michael appears hesitant in the promo footage. Could he wind up providing Willow access to the children, a decision he may later regret? Thursday, July 31st, 2025. Carly Spencer blows out when speaking with Jocelyn Jacks. The mother claims that Vaughn is not worth Jocelyn's time. The new WSB agent begins rolling her eyes. Of course, supporters are aware that the situation with Vaughn is tricky. In addition, Jason Morgan goes to ask someone for a favor. This is probably Elizabeth Liz Baldwin. Will Jason ask her to obtain medical records on Britt Westbourne? Liz will question why she is putting her nursing license at jeopardy, So Jason will tell her about seeing Britt at the airport. Which narrative are you most looking forward to witnessing on Thursday, July 31st, 2025? Share your opinions in the comments area below. Keep watching ABC soap operas to find out what happens next. Carly could feel something was wrong in her gut. She had witnessed enough pain, betrayal and manipulation in Port Charles to identify the warning signals. The way people spoke in low tones, Sunny's renewed questioning, Jason's avoidance of eye contact, it all signaled trouble. But this time the danger wasn't simply lurking above her. It was over her children, grandchildren and now Emma Drake, whom she had once cradled as a child. Carly had spent her entire life fighting for her family, defending them from both external and internal foes. So when Carly learned what Emma had done and saw Willow break down in an attempt to make sense of it all, her anger returned in full force. Emma has committed a mistake that may change her life forever. It was not something insignificant. It couldn't be fixed with a firm reprimand. She'd breached the law, not out of malice but because of desperation. It began with a little offense, accessing patient records she was not authorized to have. She was attempting to assist someone, perhaps even save them. However, things quickly became very serious. She tampered with the data, attempting to conceal her actions. She erased some and modified others. Maybe she assumed no one would notice. Perhaps she felt she was bright enough to pull it off. However, General Hospital's system detected the breach, which Spinelli quickly discovered. Carly acted quickly after learning of the situation. She confronted Emma in the hallway outside the nurse's station, her tone quiet but sharp. "Do you think you're above the rules?" Carly's voice remained steady, but her eyes were flaming. "Do you think you can do whatever you want because your parents are who they are?" Emma attempted to explain, attempted to excuse her behavior. But the longer she spoke, the deeper she sank. Carly wasn't just angry. She was disappointed. She'd watched Emma grow up and appreciated her brains and compassion. However, brilliance without discipline can be harmful. Carly has seen it before, in herself and in others. Emma's error was more than just a misstep. It was criminal, and it endangered people's lives. Willow stood nearby, tears flowing down her face. Emma had tried to help her. Emma had been approached by a friend with questions about a patient, and in her desire to be helpful and compassionate, she went too far. She never intended for things to spiral, but intentions do not erase consequences. Willow was now stuck in the middle, filled with remorse. She had trusted Emma, putting her in harm's way. Later that evening, the hospital halls became quieter, dimming under the weight of what had occurred. Carly sat in the break room, her hands clutching a cup of coffee that had long since cooled. Jason stepped in, leaned against the counter and watched her calmly. He didn't need to inquire. He already knew. Carly looked up, her expression rigid as stone. "She's lucky I got to her before the board did," Caroline remarked. "If news spreads, she's done. Her future, her career is over." Jason said nothing. He rarely gave his views until it was absolutely essential. But Carly realized he was thinking the same thing she was. Emma needed protection, but it came at a cost. And occasionally that cost included creating enemies. Meanwhile, Willow was still suffering from the aftermath. She had spent the afternoon with Emma in a peaceful area of the JH rooftop garden. They sat quietly at first, both too overwhelmed to talk. Emma apologized repeatedly, but Willow could barely answer. She was filled with too much grief and remorse. "I never wanted this," Emma muttered. "I just thought if I could help, if I could stop someone from getting hurt." "You did it for the right reasons," Willow remarked, her voice breaking. "But the right reasons can't protect you from the wrong consequences." Emma nodded, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Do you think your family will forgive me?" Willow did not respond right away. She wasn't sure what her family would do. Michael had already expressed concern about Emma's engagement in anything linked to patient care, given her inexperience and young. He now had even more reasons to distrust her. But Willow wasn't about to give up on her. She had promised herself and those she cared about that she would never let fear determine her compassion. This includes compassion for someone who had made a poor judgment. She grasped Emma's hand and squeezed it lightly. "I'm not sure what the outcome will be, but I pledge not to abandon you." It was a heartbreaking time. Emma did not deserve this, but she needed it. And it would haunt Willow later, when the ramifications began to unfold. Because her allegiance would cost her. It always has. Back at Carly's house, the storm continued to develop. Drew had stopped by to drop off some documents for Donna's school transfer, but he ended up staying when the conversation became serious. "Do you think we should tell Robert?" he asked, arms crossed. Carly scoffed. "Tell Robert? And what? Let the entire legal system collapse on Emma's head. No, we will fix this. Quietly. Discreetly. As we always do." "But she tampered with hospital records," Drew insisted. "If anyone else had done that." "She's not just anyone else," Carly said with anger. "She is a member of this family, whether you like it or not. And I'm not going to let her down for one mistake. Not when I can stop it." Drew wasn't convinced. But he knew better than to quarrel with Carly while she was in protective mode. He gave over the documents and went without saying anything further, leaving Carly standing in the foyer, her mind racing with strategies. The following day, Carly went to meet Diane Miller. When Carly presented the scenario, the top defense attorney in Port Charles did not bat an eye. "So how horrible is it?" Diana inquired. She accessed confidential files. Changed a couple things. Nothing malevolent, yet it may be interpreted as hindrance. "And what do you expect me to do?" "Make it disappear," Carly stated firmly. Diane sighed a heavy sigh before ultimately nodding. "Fine. But there will be a cost. And we'll have to involve someone from the DA's office." Carly wasn't concerned about the cost. All she cared about was preventing this from worsening. She didn't want to see another young woman's life wrecked under her watch. Meanwhile at JH, Elizabeth Weber had learnt about the breach and led Emma to a private conference room. Her tone was not as sharp as Carly's, but it was firm. "You're smarter than this," Liz replied softly. "And I expected more from you." Emma hung her head. "I'm sorry. I understand. But apologies will not repair what has been done. There will be consequences." Emma nodded, her hands quivering, hoping the consequences aren't too terrible. Willow grappled with her own emotions as these disclosures unfolded. That night, she stood by Wiley's bed and watched him sleep. She worried how much longer she could keep him safe from the tumult in their lives. She reflected on her own background, the agony she had experienced, and how Emma had tried to shield her from even more. She knelt near his bed, whispering a promise. Not to Emma, not to Michael, but Wiley, to herself, to the mother she aspired to be. "I promise I'll be better," she said softly. "I'm going to protect the people I love, even if they make mistakes, even when it hurts." Tears streamed down her cheeks quietly. Later that week, the hospital board convened an emergency meeting. Carly had managed to delay any official accusations, but it was insufficient. Emma has been placed on temporary suspension awaiting further investigation. Willow was questioned but exonerated of any wrongdoing. Nonetheless, the harm was done. Emma separated from her peers. She ceased showing up for shifts and study sessions. Her once bright spirit faded, and she stopped texting Willow back. Willow, meanwhile, was divided between motherhood, marriage, and friendship. And Carly was determined as ever to show everyone in Port Charles what she was capable of when her family was threatened. She had delivered a warning. It was time to see who listened. Emma's return to Port Charles was greeted with enthusiasm and warmth, particularly by people who had known her since she was a youngster. But beneath the smiles and festivities, a new storm was brewing, drawing Emma into the center of a web of danger she had not anticipated. She had grown into a clever, caring, and brave young woman, but it would not be enough to protect her from what was to come. Trouble began slowly, as do most things in Port Charles. Subtle glances in the halls of General Hospital, whispered chats at Metro Court, and a few dubious incidences at the pier had all begun to raise red flags. Carly was among the first to recognize that something was off. She couldn't explain it at first. It was more of a gut sensation than concrete evidence. But she'd learned a long time ago not to disregard her intuition. And this time, same instincts warned Emma that she was in danger. Carly had always been protective of those she loved about, and Emma, while not her own daughter, held a unique place in her heart. Emma was family by association, which was enough for Carly. She had witnessed her maturation, her triumph over loss and pain, and her graceful transition into young adulthood. Carly's blood ran cold at the thought of someone wanting to hurt her. It began with a message, which Emma rejected as a hoax. It had been left in her dorm room, scribbled on a sheet of paper. "You don't belong here." At first she laughed it off, assuming it was just a jealous student or someone with a strange sense of humor. However, the text got increasingly frequent and menacing. Someone was keeping an eye on her, tracking her activities and warning her that she was in danger. When Carly discovered out, she was outraged because Emma had not said anything sooner. Emma didn't want to concern anyone, particularly her family. However, Carly made it obvious that staying quiet was not an option. She phoned in favors, hired private security, and began digging on her own. She didn't trust the cops to move quickly enough, especially with everything else going on in town. She was going to approach this the only way she knew how, head-on. Meanwhile, Emma attempted to continue living her life as regularly as possible. She didn't want to confess she was terrified, but every shadow made her jump, and every unexpected face made her apprehensive. She started to withdraw by skipping courses, canceling plans with friends and spending more time alone. It didn't take long before her loved ones noticed. Anna felt heartbroken. As a former spy and mother, she chastised herself for failing to recognize the warning signs earlier. She stepped up her own research and contacted WSB connections in the hopes of getting a tip. But whoever targeted Emma was astute. They did not leave any fingerprints or security footage. They were like ghosts watching from the shadows, waiting for the right moment to attack. Jason too got involved. He had a special place for Emma and great admiration for Robin and Anna. Carly confided in him, and he did not hesitate. He started watching Emma's movements, not to breach her privacy, but to protect her. He wasn't one to express emotion, but the prospect of something happening to Emma sparked a tremendous quiet determination in him. He'd been through a lot and lost too many folks. He was not about to harm another innocent person. The incident escalated when Emma was nearly run off the road late one night. She was heading back after seeing a friend outside of town when a dark SUV began following her. At first she assumed it was a coincidence. But the automobile accelerated, swerved sharply, and forced her off the shoulder. She narrowly escaped with her life. This was the last straw for Carly. The next morning, she marched into Metro Court and confronted a man she suspected was involved. Mason, a smooth-talking newbie who had lately arrived in town and rapidly integrated himself into various business circles. Carly did not have proof, but she had her suspicions. She got in his face, warning him unequivocally that if he had anything to do with Emma's ordeal, he would pay the consequences. Her voice resonated throughout the lobby as she delivered her warning, a powerful force to be reckoned with. "Do you believe you can come into my town, hurt one of ours and get away with it?" She spat, her gaze fixed on Mason. "You chose the wrong girl and family. You mess with Emma, and you screw with all of us." Mason remained silent, but Carly's suspicions grew. She knew she had rattled him. She didn't care if she was making enemies. She'd made enough before and was still alive. Emma's safety was all that mattered. Behind closed doors, Sonny became involved as well. Despite the fact that his relationship with Carly had deteriorated, he was unwavering about family. He used his network to delve deeper, and what he discovered disturbed him. There were rumors of an old enemy reappearing. Someone with a vendetta against both the Scorpio Drake and Corinthos families. This wasn't only about Emma. It was about transmitting a message. Sonny did not like threats. He disliked them even more when they attacked the innocent. He met with Jason and they devised a plan to lure the stalker out into the open. It was hazardous, but they needed answers quickly. Emma decided to help, but unwillingly. She disliked being bait, but she trusted Jason and Sonny. With additional security and round-the-clock surveillance, they staged a public event to pull out whoever had been observing her. Emma was expected to attend the hospital's fundraising event. The guest list was meticulously vetted, and law enforcement was notified in secret. The night of the event, tensions were high. Carly never let Emma out of her sight. Jason kept an eye on things from a distance, while Sonny had a few guys stationed outside. Everyone was on edge, expecting something to happen. And something did. The hospital experienced a blackout midway through the evening. The lights flickered and went out, throwing the place into confusion. Guests panicked, and Emma vanished among the confusion. Carly's heartbeat stopped. She yelled for Jason, Sunny, or anyone to help. Her darkest fears had come true. But Emma was not alone. When the lights went out, Jason moved. He had anticipated the possibility and was prepared. He found her just as someone was attempting to take her towards the rear exit. In the darkness, a scuffle broke out with screaming, the sound of glass breaking, and finally a gunshot. When the lights came back on, the attacker lay unconscious on the floor, bleeding from a shoulder wound. Jason stood over him, his firearm still drawn. Emma was shaken but unhurt. The man, later revealed as a former accomplice of Caesar Faison, had been infatuated with Emma for years, blaming her family for Faison's demise. The fallout was fast. The man was arrested, and Carly ensured that he would never see the outside of a cell again. She hugged Emma close that night, murmuring furious promises of safety into her hair. "Nobody touches you again. Not while I'm still breathing." In the days that followed, things gradually returned to normal. But the scars lingered. Emma attempted to go forward, restoring her life and sense of safety. She relied on her family, on Anna, Robin, and even Carly, who had proven to be a protective guardian like any mother. And Carly? She remained attentive. She knew Port Charles would never be safe, but she also knew where her strength lay. In love, devotion, and the fire that burned inside her when someone she cared about was threatened. Emma had survived. She was stronger now, wiser. But Carly would never stop looking at the shadows. Not when adversaries were still lurking. Not while there was still a potential that someone else would pursue the people she loved. And not while she possessed the ability to fight back. Because in Port Charles, danger is unavoidable. But so is Carly's rage when her family is threatened.